Hello, welcome to MarketSquare, your go-to show for deep insights into business and economic trends. I'm Olaitan Adebayo, and today we're diving into key developments across Nigeria. Stay with us as we break it all down. Welcome back to MarketSquare. Nigeria's export earnings hit an all-time high of 77.4 trillion naira in 2024, up from 16.3 trillion naira in 2014, a remarkable 375 increase in naira terms. At first glance, this appears to be a significant achievement, suggesting progress in foreign trade and economic expansion. However, when these earnings are measured in dollar terms, a very different picture emerges. Export revenue actually fell by nearly 48%, dropping from $96.09 billion in 2014 to $50.42 billion in 2024, a decline largely driven by an 805.13% depreciation of the naira during the same period. Analysts wonder what we're experiencing is not economic advancement but the inflation of figures due to currency collapse, an accounting trick that marks the real weaknesses at the heart of Nigeria's trade system. At the core of the problem is Nigerians' continued overdependence on crude oil, which still contributes over 90% of export earnings. The singular reliance makes the country vulnerable to international oil price shocks and production disruptions, such as pipeline vandalism and stored upstream projects like Bonga Southwest Aparu and Zabazaba Etan, despite global calls for diversification. Nigeria's non-oil exports remain marginal, constrained by pure logistics, widespread insecurity, a fragile industrial base, and inconsistent government policy. While local currency earnings from these exports have grown, the actual value in dollar terms has declined significantly, rendering them ineffective in strengthening the country's foreign reserves of trade balance. This situation is compounded by Nigeria's worsening foreign exchange crisis. The naira has been in a state of free fall due to chronic dollar shortage, speculative trading, and shifting monetary policies by the central bank. As a result, exporters face challenges in bringing back their foreign exchange earnings, and importers are saddled with rising costs. FX instability distorts trade performance data and undermines investor confidence. According to experts, the ability to plan for long-term growth is being severely curtailed, while official figures suggest a trade surplus of 16.85 trillion naira in 2024. The underlying economic fundamentals such as capital inflows, competitiveness, and currency strength tell a story of decline. Foreign direct investment plunged by more than 60% from 2020 to 2023, signaling growing investor doubt and unease over the country's policy direction and currency stability. Beyond FX, Nigeria's weak institutional framework continues to block genuine export growth, from inconsistent custom documentation and regulatory bottlenecks to smuggling and port congestion. The business environment for trade is far from investor friendly. Many agro exporters complain that by the time their goods are cleared for shipment, perishables have spoiled or are rejected by foreign markets due to delays and poor quality control. The lack of coordination between agencies, absence of regulatory tracking, and corruption at checkpoints further frustrate exporters, making the cost of doing business unsustainable. Oil exports still dominate the external trade structure, leaving little room for diversified income sources. Over-reliance on oil means any decline in global prices or disruptions in local output has an outsized effect on national earnings. Despite attempts at diversifying into non-oil sectors, no other industry has come close to matching the dominance of crude oil, resulting in a brittle and narrow export base. A lack of reliable infrastructure continues to stunt productivity and raise the cost of trade. Frequent power outages disrupt manufacturing and processing. Dilapidated roads and rail system hinder good movement, and congested ports, especially in Lagos, delay clearance times, sometimes for weeks. These bottlenecks makes Nigerian exports less competitive on the global stage, both in cost and quality. To turn this fragile state around, Nigeria must go beyond exporting more and focus on exporting smarter. That means stabilizing the FX market with reasonable rates, reducing dependence on oil by nurturing agriculture, manufacturing, mining, and heavily investing in logistics infrastructure. Roads must connect rural producers to ports efficiently. Electricity must power processing hubs reliably, and security must be restored to farming and mining zones. SMEs, which make up the bulk of potential non-oil exporters, must be given access to trade finance, aggregation centers, and technical support. Most importantly, institutions must be strengthened from customs and standard organization to port authorities and economic ministries to deliver transparent, consistent service. The data reveals that Nigeria's export system has failed to grow meaningfully in dollar terms over the last decade, despite occasional oil price recoveries and diversification efforts. The large naira export figures are not due to an actual increase in export volumes or value, but a reflection of how much the currency has weakened. This trend raises concerns about Nigeria's foreign exchange earnings capacity, external trade competitiveness, and vulnerability to exchange rate shocks. Moving Moving on to the second headline, Nigeria has set an ambitious target to achieve 95% digital trade literacy by 2030, a goal made urgent by widespread educational gaps, limited internet access, and rapidly evolving technology. The partnership with Belgium is positioned as a strategic catalyst to help Nigeria close its implementation gap by combining European digital pedagogies with local scale and continental ambitions. At the center of Nigerian strategy is Digital Literacy for All, a nationwide initiative led by NITDA aiming for 70% digital literacy by 2077, targeting schools, marketplace, and underserved communities. Belgium contributes field-tested frameworks such as DICOM standards and multilingual curricula for structured and inclusive digital education. The proposed collaboration includes shared curriculum development, teacher exchange initiatives, and pilot classroom implementation to build a model that can be scaled across Africa. This collaboration matters because digital literacy goes beyond operating a device. It includes digital citizenship, cybersecurity awareness, media literacy, and critical thinking. These soft skills are essential in a time when misinformation and data privacy threats are on the rise, but Nigeria's existing policy emphasizes technical skills over holistic digital competence. The Nigerian-Belgium model seeks to address this imbalance by embedding soft skills within educational pathways. Nigeria faces significant barriers. Over 31% of adults remain functionally illiterate. Millions of children are out of school, and rural areas suffer from poor broadband access, limited electricity, and high device costs. Without early intervention, starting in primary education, the nation risks losing learners before they can engage within the digital world. To confront these challenges, the partnership outlines a 10-year roadmap of 2025 to 2030 divided into three phases. The pilot phase from 2025 to 2027 will integrate digital literacy models into primary curricula, conduct baseline assessment, and launch a nationwide digital literacy dashboard aligned with AU standards. The scale phase 2028 to 2031 will focus on teacher upskilling, solar power learning hubs, and affordable device financing via public-private partnerships. Finally, the continental rollout 2032 to 2035 will explore how Nigeria's model can empower Pan-African digital literacy through AU frameworks and AI integrated vocational training pathways. Belgium's strengths multilingual education frameworks, digital pedagogy, and curricular co-design add both structure and credibility to the program. Nigeria provides the scale, ambition, and infrastructure foundation to make the model viable at continental level. In the broader continental context, this collaboration aligns with priorities such as the African Union's Continental Education Strategy for Africa 2026 to 2035, Agenda 2063, and World Bank-supported development digital agendas across sub-Saharan Africa. These programs aim to link digital skills training with economic inclusion and youth employment. The case for digital literacy is urgent. Automation, AI, and globalization continue to reshape job markets. The future of jobs emphasizes that while AI might automate repetitive tasks, it will elevate the importance of creativity, analytical, and emotional skills. Nigerians' approach, if implemented well, can produce digital citizens who are capable thinkers and innovators, and not just Nigerian users. Nigeria-Belgium digital literacy collaboration is not just another aid program. It represents deliberate strategy to shape Africa's digital future, if executed well with fidelity. Emphasizing institutional partnership, inclusive pedagogy, and community scale, it has the potential to become a model not only for Nigeria, but for the entire continent. As Nigeria grapples with economic pressure caused by rising prices, the federal government is preparing to implement a new 5% surcharge on all refined petroleum products, both imported locally produced from January 1st, 2026. While the policy is projected to generate as much as 796 billion naira annually from petrol alone, the broader economic implications have triggered deep public concern, especially in the wake of 2023 fuel subsidy removal. Signed into law by President Bola Tinubu as part of a broader tax reform initiative in June 2025, the surcharge is enshrined into the Nigerian Tax Administration Act, one of four newly ratified laws aimed at overhauling the nation's revenue generation architecture. At the heart of the new policy is a fiscal imperative boosting non-oil revenue amidst growing debt burdens and dwindling foreign inflows. According to estimates based on 2024 consumption data from the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority, the surcharge could yield close to 800 billion naira annually from petrol sales alone, calculated on a total volume of 18.75 billion liters consumed at an average of 850 naira per liter. Yet, beyond the numbers lies a growing sense of public resistance. For many Nigerians, this policy is viewed as a tone-deaf move that threatens to compound existing economic hardship. Civil society, organizations, petroleum marketers, trade, transport unions, and human rights advocates have all voiced their opposition, citing inflation, weak purchasing power, and a deteriorating standard of living. Consumer advocacy groups and union argue that introducing a surcharge so soon after fuel subsidy removal undermines public trust. Many see it as shifting the financial burden of revenue generation directing onto citizens already struggling with high transport, food, and energy costs. Transport unions have expressed fears that the surcharge would ultimately drive up pump prices, leading to fare hikes and worsening mobility for millions. The Joint Drivers Welfare Association described the government's approach as an experiment on vulnerable Nigerians, while others warn of widespread discontent if the policy proceeds without clear social cushioning. Marketer echoes similar sentiment. According to the Independent Petroleum Market Association of Nigeria, the surcharge will likely be absorbed into pre-pricing models by refineries and importers, inevitably resulting in higher retail prices. The association's spokesperson noted that marketers operate on thin margins and cannot caution new levies without transferring the cost to end users. While industry groups such as the Association of Nigerian Refineries Petroleum Marketers acknowledge the importance of improving Nigerian roads and energy infrastructure, they caution that any additional levy must be implemented with transparency and accountability. The association stressed the need for digital monitoring tools, robust procurement practices, and a visible infrastructure impact to justify the charge. They expressed conditional support for the policy, urging that it will be tied to tangible improvements in the nation's dilapidated road networks, a key driver of logistics costs and economic inefficiency. Without visible returns, experts warn that the surcharge could become yet another layer of fiscal strain with no development payoff. From the government standpoint, the surcharge represents a strategic attempt to broaden the tax base and reduce fiscal dependence on crude oil exports. By targeting fossil fuels responsible for both environmental impact and heavy budgetary subsidies, the administration seeks to align revenue generation with energy transition goals while funding critical infrastructure. The policy also exempts products such as household kerosene, cooking gas, compressed natural gas, and renewable energy sources, signaling a shift towards cleaner alternatives. This reflects a global trend in carbon taxation and environmental fiscal policy. Analysts argue that any well-intentioned reform must be rolled out in a context-sensitive manner, with inflation above 24% and food and transportation taking up the bulk of household spending. Even marginal prices increase can have profound effects on welfare and productivity. As Nigeria awaits implementation timeline, many are demanding clear communication, stakeholders' engagement, and a visible framework for how revenues from surcharge will be used. Without this assurance, the policy risks deepening economic discontent and fueling social unrest. The 5% purchase surcharge offers a glimpse into Nigeria's fragile balancing act between generating revenue and maintaining public confidence. It underscores a broader question facing fiscal policymakers: how to reform without worsening the hardship for those already bearing the economic weight of transition. That's it for today on MarketSquare. Thank you for joining me. See you on the next one.